Hey everybody, welcome back to the sixth round post-fight show with me, Zane Simon, and my co-host, as always, Eddie Mercado, coming right at you after the end of UFC Mexico, Brandon Royval versus Brandon Moreno 2, going down at the CDMX in Mexico City, and an interesting night. I don't know, I kind of feel like the UFC has to stop, the crowd was great and energetic and brought a lot of liveliness to the event. But the UFC has to find a place that's not Mexico City to hold these cards in Mexico. You know?
Why? You mean like the elevation?
Yeah. Everybody looked tired. Brandon Moreno looked tired. Yair Rodriguez looked tired. Daniel Zelhuber looked tired. Everybody just they even had this. They didn't
I don't give a fuck, Zane. I don't care. I don't care. I shut it. I don't care. You're fighting elevation. It's not like it favors everyone fights at elevation. It's not
I know
one person has to do it and the other doesn't.
No, but I just
don't. Elevation talk. Stop.
I just don't need to see a bunch of fighters fighting at like half capacity, even if they're all doing it.
I don't care. I don't care. It's like it's an added wrinkle. The cards are relevant anyways, right? There's like two fights with ranked fighters. Who cares? Let's see Hart. It's a wrinkle.
Yeah, but this is the only place that the UFC goes in Mexico. It can't be every time the UFC goes to Mexico, it's just going to be an endurance test every single time. Can it?
Yeah, it can. Just like the way that's like saying don't go to Australia because of the taxes.
No, it's not. Fighters aren't being like, oh man, this tax burden is really slowing down my output.
No, it's slowing down their pockets though. It's everywhere has its own thing. If you don't want to fight at elevation, don't fight in fucking Mexico City. It's that simple. If you train at elevation,
okay, so what I'm saying is
fight on the Mexico card.
Then I'm saying every fighter should refuse to fight in Mexico City. Is what I'm saying.
Benefits them, and then we'll just get the cardio kings fighting on the Mexico card.
No, just all of them refuse. All of them refuse. You screw this whole cardio things. If you're going to be a cardio king, you can be a cardio king at sea level too. I want to watch that. I don't want to watch a bunch of lightweights looking like light heavyweights out here. That's not the fun version of MMA for me.
I don't know, man. Royval threw almost 500 strikes.
Yes, and if he'd put any weight behind any of them, I would also feel much more like he clearly won this fight.
But that's never the case with him, right?
Yeah, no, it's not.
He has certain tools that he throws, like that knee, that will cause damage. Just the mechanics of the move itself. But when it comes to his just all around volume, it's soft.
It is.
It's soft volume.
I gotta ask straight away then? How did you score the fight? Because I threw out the controversial scorecard, but I want to hear yours before
I could. So let me preface this with saying I could see the fight either way. I feel like that fifth round was close. I had it 2-2 going into the fourth, and I gave
into the
fifth. I'm sorry, and I gave the fifth to Royval. So
okay, I had the fight, and this is my controversy. It is. I'm happy at least one judge actually agreed with me, although it's Junichio Kamijo, which makes me a little bit more suspect of myself. But I had it 49-46 Moreno.
Because of the leg kicks?
No, because he landed the cleaner, heavier shots in 4 out of 5 rounds. Moreno landed volume, but so much of it was just pitter-pat, glancing off the guard. He threw 400 strikes, landed 27% of them, just kind of, there's that exchange at the end where Royval is short-arming all these little slappy punches on Moreno, and it's maybe 10 of those landed that you give him credit for, but not one of them felt like they moved Moreno even an inch.
No, that's fair. That's fair. But what I will say is I favor that way more than Wallenstall, and that's what Moreno was doing.
That is fair. Moreno was trying to hold. He was the one trying to slow the fight down, trying to make it not fun. I fully agree. I can't deny, and I'm not going to sit here and say I'm so mad that Royval won that fight. But I will
upset.
I will die on the hill that quality of shots should count. Like,
sure,
the meta of volume and pressure and aggression that is pushing fights. I love it. I'm happy about it. It's a way that MMA should go. But then judges should also be looking at how clean are these shots landing? How powerful are they? What is the quality of the work being done, not just the quantity?
Which rounds did you give Moreno?
I gave him 1, 2, 4, and 5.
Oh, you gave him the 5th? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I thought the 3rd was his real just not do anything of consequence round where Royval's volume edge made the most difference.
Well, he also got kicked in the nuts that round.
Yeah.
I'm sure that didn't help his case any.
So that's my screed. I do feel like Moreno should have won that fight empirically based on quality of offense. I get why he didn't. I'm not going to come back around to that and try to claim it as some secret victory for Brandon Moreno in the future. But I was at least glad one judge agreed with me. So,
Yeah. Like I said, the 5th round was really close and it could have gone either way. And honestly, if it wasn't for that late surge from Royval, I might have went the other way with it. But
yeah,
it was just really close fight.
It was definitely. I mean, Moreno. I don't know about that whole. I guess I get that. Like, Royval puts out so much offense that you don't really want to test him to a cardio foot race. And
especially in Mexico City, to your point.
Yeah, especially in Mexico City, and that he walks in without a lot of power, so you really do want to sit and wait for him to expose himself because there's no defense there when he's moving forward. But it does also feel like Moreno really just gave up the pressure game, and he let Royval set the tempo, which is the reason he lost the fight.
It looks like a weird game of tag, right?
Yeah.
I don't even know if Moreno bled at all for all that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why Dominic Cruz was so stumped, right?
True.
No bleeders. How do you score it? Is a mile higher than 7,000 feet? I don't know.
No, Moreno did not jab the southpaw.
He did not.
As an orthodox fighter,
he really did a lot of swimming. Like, there was a lot of Chuck Liddell in Brandon Moreno tonight. Just those swimming overhands again and again.
Honestly, there was a lot of Yoel Romero in Brandon Moreno tonight. For whatever reason, a lot of like backing up. And it worked for the first 2 rounds. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Somebody agrees with you.
Is that me? Am I in the chat?
That's right, Eddie. Yeah, get your alt out of the chat here. Come on.
That's wild. No, but it worked for the first 2 rounds. Moreno was doing really well with his counters, just waiting. Throw your volume, and then bam, crack them clean. And then something just happened in the 3rd. I don't know if it was the altitude or the gassing or the kick to the nuts or just Royval making adjustments and doing well defending the takedowns. But Royval kind of just took over.
No, I mean, the pace war was clearly won by Brandon Royval. It is what it is. It's the game. He called out Alexandre Pantoja after the win. I'm not feeling it, Like, we just saw that fight. It was okay, not great. But
that was a grueling fight that Pantoja really had to dig deep to win in a boring kind of way.
Yeah.
But you also have to look at you have Amir Albazi, right?
Yeah, yeah. We've got a couple people saying that they should do Albazi Royval, which this was supposed to be Albazi Moreno originally.
I'm fine with that. I mean, I secretly want Moreno to face someone like, much further down.
Well, not Moreno. Albazi Royval. I mean, you do Albazi Royval. Is what people are saying.
Yeah.
And that gets you a title shot. But then it's also in the meantime, like what is Alexandre Pantoja doing? I mean, I know he's doing a little mini campaign for Sean O'Malley, like because every single UFC champion is now trying to fight the guy above him. But it does kind of feel like this is just going to be, we're going to play back Royval Pantoja, because what else out there is there for?
Well, I think this was the coming out party for Royval as a UFC mainstay flyweight. He's finally getting these rematches in, as all flyweights do. You got to get one more Kai Kara France in there to really complete things. So he's probably banished to the land of rematches and trilogies from here on out.
Yeah. There is somebody who's mentioning, like, the problem with a fight like Mokaev Perez is being mentioned in here, or with Manal Kopp, is it really feels like those guys, if Mokaev wins that fight, Kopp is coming off his win over Felipe dos Santos, it really feels like they need another big fight to put themselves in contention.
Honestly, that's how I feel about Amir Albazi, but that's another conversation for another time.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably, I would just say do Albazi Pantoja and then have Royval face like Mokaev or Kopp. Do Royval Kopp and do Albazi Pantoja. But
sure.
Sure.
What'd you think of this fight, by the way? You like it? You not like it?
The Royval Moreno too?
Yeah.
I didn't dislike it because Royval kept the action high, he kept the tempo high. I didn't love the way it actually looked, though, and I really don't like the way it was scored. It felt, a couple people have mentioned already, Moreno felt flat. He looked like he was not that well prepared for the altitude or for Royval's style.
Yeah.
Really struggled to scramble with Royval at all, in a way that the first fight really showed him as the better scrambler, the better grappler, somebody who could beat Royval to positions and win out on the ground. I expected to see more of that from him here, and he didn't really feel like he wanted to make that fight happen.
Yeah, I was expecting a lot more of the fifth round Moreno.
Yeah.
One biting down and willing to have these prolonged exchanges in the pocket instead of on the back foot trying to counter with one strike.
Yeah.
But I don't know if there's an injury going on. A lot of fucking weird shit going on with the legs in this card. You got the guy earlier that stepped in that space between the canvas and the cage. You had Brandon Moreno out here hopping on all weird on his leg. You had Brian Ortega injuring himself in his introduction with hopping on his leg. Just a weird leg night.
Yeah. It was just a weird card.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Brian Ortega. Yeah, Rodriguez. Once again, this was just a weird fight. Rodriguez went out there and had a really good, solid first round against Brian Ortega, and then just couldn't defend a takedown to save his life for the rest of the fight. Ortega's he's a great grappler, but he's never been a master takedown artist. And a lot of what worked for him here just felt like it was a single leg or a body lock.
Or jumping a guillotine or jumping on the back standing.
Yeah.
Or things like that. Unorthodox, more standard jiu-jitsu takedowns, I'll say.
Yeah.
That are just shy of guard pulls.
Exactly. And Rodriguez he didn't seem ready for it at all as the fight went on. It was...
So what I saw was Rodriguez coming out there whooping ass, looking phenomenal on the feet, rocking Ortega, dropping him, firing at will, attacking the legs, attacking the body, going to the head. Everything was fucking perfect. He goes on the ground with them, does fantastic, hanging with them there. And then there's a moment where a leg kick actually dropped Ortega, and Yair decided to enter into the guard. And I'm like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Like, is it because you caught that triangle or that armbar in the first fight that you feel that confident? You're that arrogant that you just want to tangle with this guy on the ground willingly? And then, Ortega got up and just got his own takedown. And Yair didn't get up. The second round comes and gives up the easy takedown. He had that small flurry, but then it was all Ortega.
It really, in the second round, it really felt like Yair was just like, he got put on his back, and it almost felt like he was just content to wait and let Ortega elbow him in the head, and never even made a move to try and get up at all. And I was like, oh, well, maybe he's just, reserving his energy, whatever, trying to make the fight, draw the fight out, because at least everybody was talking online before the event happened that Ortega didn't train at elevation at all for this, that he just stayed home in California and flew out fight week,
Interesting. I know they do have mountains in California, but
no, of course there's Big Bear out there and stuff like that, but that was the word. And
man, that brings me back. Remember when you couldn't get through a UFC broadcast without hearing Big Bear mentioned like 30 fucking times?
Yeah. No kidding.
Those were the days.
So then, the third round comes along, and it's just really clear suddenly that, like, it's not that that Rodriguez is just trying to preserve himself and, isn't trying to get up. He just can't deal with Brian Ortega's wrestling and grappling game at all. Like, just got taken down and arm triangled immediately, and
right. And that's what I mean earlier. I think he thought he was more clever than he is because of what happened in the first fight.
Yeah, must be, because I didn't see the point really of holding either of these two rematches that much. They were going to be, they're fun fights, they're fine fights, but it was just like, they were both injuries that were caused by the opponent in the first fight. Like,
they both seem super necessary to me.
Okay, well to me it was
because flyweight, you have to, right? That's the nature of flyweight. If you're if you're at the top, you're doing that. And this one just seemed appropriate. I felt like they needed to run this one back.
I don't know. To me, it's like it was weird to have it be the fight they ran back the first time Ortega had fought in 2 years. Like, Rodriguez went out there, he blew Josh Emmett out of the water, he fought Volk for the belt, and Brian Ortega has just been injured for a couple of years. And it's like,
what do you mean? He's also been doing that whole Renaissance thing. The eagle with the ripping the beak off and the feathers and the talons or whatever the rebirth. What do you call it?
Brian, for the love of God, if you are ever in ownership of any birds, please do not pluck all their feathers. Okay? Don't do it.
Man, how about Yair Rodriguez losing 2 fights in a row by getting finished?
Yeah.
Both third rounds, too. I wonder if it's a gas thing. You think he gassed?
That's the thing. Is it like, that's part of me in this whole, like, I don't need to see these extra high altitude fights. We don't need UFC Machu Picchu, okay? We don't need
UFC Everest.
Yeah. It did feel like, to me, it just felt, like he might have just run himself past his cardio really quickly. And I don't know. All right. But for Ortega, what's next? I mean, they kind of got to do Ortega Topuria, right?
I mean, I would rather see it over Evloev.
And I mean, Evloev is like, you heard what Dana White had to say about Movsar Evloev after Evloev's very solid, totally reasonable win over Arnold Allen. Dana White was like, that was the worst fight I've ever seen in my life. I hated it. Evloev sucks, and he's a clown, and we should never watch him fight. I mean, I'm paraphrasing here, but I mean, I would love to see Evloev versus Topuria at some point, but I just don't think the UFC is going to do it. So at that point, you kind of got, like, Max Holloway's booked. You're not just going to unbook that Gagey fight. And I don't know, I'm not feeling all that confident about Holloway coming out of that with a win. So I don't even want to, like, try to look past that as like, oh yeah, Holloway can bounce off that right into a title shot at featherweight. You just kind of have to do Brian Ortega versus Ilia Topuria. Or an Ortega-Volk rematch? I mean, but Volk's talking about fighting late in the year, and he wants his rematch with Topuria anyway. Like, I don't know. You could, but
it'll be interesting to see how it shapes out, because it's kind of hard to say.
I'd be fine with an Ortega-Volk rematch in like 2 years. You could do that rematch anytime. It doesn't need to be like Ortega's path to title contention. He's just the only contender free, not coming off a loss.
You could do him and Ilia, and then if Ortega loses, then do the rematch with Volk. Maybe.
Exactly. Like that fight, I'm happy. I'm fine seeing it as a benchmark for Ortega and a benchmark for Volkanovski at some point in the future, but I just don't need to see it in the way.
The PFL had a card today, the PFL versus Bellator card, and it was better than this card, way more relevant, and my picks were way better for the Bellator card than they were this UFC card.
Is that something somebody's saying with the PFL card?
Yeah, someone said it in the chat.
Oh yeah. Here we go.
Yeah, it's true. It was a better card, but it was a pay-per-view. That part was cool.
On early in the morning, so I just kind of forgot about it. My time.
Oh yeah, true.
And Bellator ran shop up until Ryan Bader. What are the odds you think though that they do Ryan? We ever actually see Francis Ngannou versus Renan Ferreira?
Yeah, they're going to do that next.
Assuming that, like,
well, you mean is Francis ever going to leave boxing and go back to for the
like pennies? If he has an even halfway decent fight with Anthony Joshua, does he then turn around and be like, yeah, I'm going to fight Renan Ferreira in the PFL? I don't know.
Maybe. I guess it really depends what happens. Because if he does, like, even if he that would be nuts. Like, if he goes and does decent against Joshua, even wins, and then he goes and defends, or I guess captures the PFL heavyweight belt, he would be the baddest man on the planet, hands down.
No, I mean, there's I can see a world in which Ngannou fights for the PFL again at some point, and if he does, then Ferreira is positioned to be the right dude. And if Ferreira is smart, he accepts no other fight until that Francis Ngannou fight gets made, because that is a guaranteed $2 million purse, at least.
Yeah.
As the B side to Ngannou. Ngannou already, so just if you're Ferreira, you're like, man, he doesn't want to come fight for 2 more years. I'll wait. I just won $1 million in the tournament. I can wait 2 years for one fight where I'll make $2 million.
Honestly, during the broadcast, they were John Jones was there in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
They were angling for him and Francis Ngannou.
Yeah, well, Jones does seem like he is going to drive himself. He seems like he's on his way out of the UFC at some point here through retirement or something. But I think he also signed a really big deal with the UFC again for his last fight. So they would probably be sitting on that for like every last minute of it. If that deal is for like 8 fights or 5 years, they're going to wait those 5 years.
Sure.
All right. We're getting a little lost in the theoretical here. That brings us to a lightweight bout. Daniel Zelhuber, Francisco Prado. I will say this was a really impressive fight to me.
You said his name wrong. It's Francis Drew Pradober.
Okay.
Tell me that all look like a Latino, Drew Dober out there.
He does.
Fights like him too.
Absolutely. But Zelhuber Prado, this was a very impressive fight, I thought. This was my surprisingly impressive fight of the night. Prado coming out, fighting like a bull, really knowing how he needed to fight Zelhuber, getting inside, throwing with power. And then for Zelhuber to actually adjust and start meeting Prado with knees and start meeting him with counters when Prado would throw more than one strike on the way in. He was able to really shut Prado down in the second round and then start fencing him out in the third behind the jab. And it was just a really good performance from Zelhuber and an impressive performance from Prado to come out and really push it hard early in a fight that he was giving up like 8 inches of reach.
Yeah, I gave the first round to Prado.
Oh, yeah.
He brought it. He absolutely brought it. But yeah, just the command of range from Zelhuber was on point. He showed up. He was in full form. He looked like a problem out there. He looked like what we want him to be. He looked nothing like what was that, Trey Ogden? Who'd he fight?
Yeah, Trey Ogden.
Crash against. Yeah, that guy wasn't here. So
no.
I thought it was good to see him just navigate those overhands and getting backed up to the cage, because that's kind of his kryptonite. So seeing him, deal with that against someone who packs a wallop was pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. It was good work from him, and I was really happy to see it too. That fight he had with Ogden was really he got caught in the lull of sparring somebody who was there just to jab and low kick him. And Prado, I loved what Prado brought out of the fight. So that was a cool fight. I was happy with it. And I'm happy to see what Zelhuber can do in the future of the lightweight division. He's huge. He's got a great frame. A lot of fun.
What I need to see now? Zelhuber versus Drew Dober. Come on now.
Okay.
The B version. Now you fight the A version.
Enough of this. But yes, we could. He can fight Drew Dober. Then they can bring back AJ Fletcher, and then they can go find Sean Shirk and dig him up.
What?
And we'll just get all of the little fire hydrant shaped dudes out there for him to fight.
Sean Shirk. Wow.
I know.
Showing your age.
I am. All right. That brings us to a women's strawweight bout. Yasmin Hargi, Sam Hughes. And, I expected this to be a harder fight for Hargi, just a little bit. Hughes has been tough out for a lot of people lately. But she made this fight look real easy. So good on Hargi. For Hughes, she just, she does not have she needs to work on her takedown drive, because she was getting in on Hargi and on her hips a couple of times, and she would just move straight up into the body and into the clinch instead of being able to drive through and on a double. And all of her takedown attempts stalled brutally. And at that point, it's just like you're stuck out at range with a much slicker, faster boxer than you. There's not a lot that you can do here.
Yeah, I mean, she never got discouraged. She never stopped trying. She just didn't have the tools that she needed to get a win here. Not a great fight by any stretch of the imagination, but it's funny, in the first round, Sam's getting kind of pieced up on the feet, and like before she would get hit with something, her coach would yell out, "It's about to happen." And then it would happen. So like her coach is watching her about to get dinked and then calls it out and then gets dinked with it. And it's like, that's got to be like a frustrating position to be coaching someone, and you see it happening and they can't see it. They don't have that vision.
Yeah, well, they just doesn't have the speed too.
Sure.
I think that's part of it.
The foot speed for sure.
Yeah. Somebody here recommending Yasmin Hargi versus Jillian Robertson. I could also see her against didn't Mizuki Inoue come back recently and get a win? Yeah, over Hannah Goldie or just somebody else. She had a bad knockout loss. Just kind of
like an Emily Ducote or something.
Yeah. Oh, let's see. Did we already? Or we could do Hargi versus Loma Lookboonmi. I'd be here for that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. But also, I have to say in that fight too, I remember this now, and it really bugs me. Saif Sayud, great coach, Fortis MMA. A lot of their fighters really improve. They solid game plans, all that. He kept telling Hughes to go southpaw because it would take away Haragi's right hand. And what? Credit to Dominic Cruz. He gets all over the place. He doesn't know how high a mile is. All that.
It's a conversion factor.
But he at least knew enough to immediately be like, wait a minute. Isn't the first go-to tool when facing a southpaw the right hand? Because facing a southpaw is, if you have a bad jab, it takes away your jab. But it doesn't take away the backhand. What the hell?
I don't know.
Hughes did try to go southpaw several times in the fight and just got dialed up every single time she tried it. And, safe, man. I don't.
Well, maybe he just knows the way she operates and knows when she's southpaw, she circles this way. And
yeah, maybe, but
I don't know. Maybe it's just a pattern that just wasn't there in the fight. Who knows?
It was just weird.
It was a tough fight for her, though.
It was a very tough fight. It was a fight that Hughes was very unlikely to ever win. It was just good on Hargi for showing up with a good style matchup for her and making it look like a good style matchup.
Oh, we got a good point here. The coaches are at altitude also.
That's true. Yeah. It's true. That air, a little altitude sickness. Maybe he's just,
I don't know if he flew in early to coach at altitude.
That's right. Yeah, he should have. They should have. You got to come in at least 2 weeks early and yell at somebody for half an hour twice a day. Get your reps in,
or at minimum, do those altitude chambers.
Yeah. All right. That brings us to a lightweight fight. Manuel Torres, Chris Duncan, booked to deliver, absolutely delivered. Every fight I watch Manuel Torres in, I am like, man, you are going to get knocked out so hard one day. And every single time, it's just like, but not today.
Well, here's what I got to know. Who fooked whose girlfriend? These guys were not playing at all. All. Torres gets rocked right away. It looks like he's about to go down, and dude rushes him, and Torres is like head kick, boom, and it raises him, and crazy, just car crash of a fight. I loved every second of
that rock bottom slam straight into the rear naked choke.
He's got a standing seatbelt, over under, and just rock bottoms him. This was insane.
It was a crazy fight. Torres is quickly becoming must see. The UFC should 100% book him against Paddy Pimblett, like he called out, which Paddy Pimblett will absolutely not take. But Torres, like I say, every time I see him, I'm like, man, he is going to get knocked out really bad by somebody just ready to meet him. Duncan cracked him right away. But until that happens, he will be absolutely a thrill to watch.
Oh yeah, dude, he fights like a light heavyweight.
Yep. Super fun. All right, that brings me to my highlight of the night, which is Hani Barcelos, Christian Quinones. I am like the last remaining Hani Barcelos fan on the planet out there, so
I'm not I picked him to win.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad to hear it because I saw a lot of people picking Christian Quinones here, and I was just like, man, this would have to be a horrible off night for Hani Barcelos for him to lose this fight.
He almost lost this fight, Zane.
And he almost lost this fight. He's just, he's getting old. He was born a decade too late or a decade too early. Not the right decade. Whatever it is, he was not born at the right time because he's now like 37.
Yeah, no. And the wheels are falling off to the point where they had to pop one back on.
Yeah.
Mid-fight. Dude's shoulder popped out and they just popped it back in. And dude not only win the fight, but get a finish.
And you can see like afterward too, he's doing the interview and he's got his arm like hooked into his belt so that he can like keep it propped up. Like that arm was done. And he went out there and got that third round rear naked choke. And that was just a thing of beauty. Like,
yeah, that was awesome. This whole fight was awesome. Like
it was.
Everybody was getting hurt, everyone was bleeding, busted up. And watching Barcelos just be a salty veteran and dig deep and go out there and get the finish. Like,
especially too as a dude who also apparently reportedly did not train at altitude for this fight.
That's
like for him to get the third round finish. It's awesome, especially after dropping that second round so clear. Like,
yeah, no, this was great.
Great fight.
Shout out to the UFC translator, by the way. That dude was out there translating Portuguese to Spanish to English. That dude needs a performance bonus for sure.
He is on. I don't know how the UFC ended up with him, but I think that dude might be the best translator in all of sports, honestly. Like,
yeah.
The UFC is so lucky to have Fabiano Buschi. He is the dude is the best thing about him too is the man gets all of the intonation right. Like if a fighter is excited, he translates it excited.
Yeah.
Like, man,
he's great. He's becoming an icon.
He is.
I ought to interview him. Remind me to interview him.
I will. I will tell you to do it.
I'll make a note.
So I love seeing Barcelos get the win. I don't know what it puts him in line for. Christian Quinones, he's an anybody in that division. So what do you get off of a fight like that? You get a fight with like.
I mean, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't. Yeah, you fight somebody like Kyung Ho Kong or something. I don't know.
It doesn't matter. Anybody.
But I was happy. I am happy to see him get the win. I'm always happy to see the old man get the win. All right. That brings us to a flyweight bout. This is the other controversy moment of the night. In fact, could be the biggest controversy moment. The fight didn't matter at all, and I hate even thinking of it. I just know that I had people coming after me for like 20 minutes after this fight for being like, I can see how Aguilar might have won that fight.
Well, yeah, kind of, yeah.
I mean, he won the second round. All the judges scored it for him.
Sure.
It was,
I scored it for him the second round.
Yeah. He won the second round on everybody's card. He lost the third round on everybody's card. And the first round was a really messy toss-up. And I don't really see, like, I hate using stats for this kind of thing, but he's basically credited for all the significant strikes in that round.
Which round is this? Are you speaking on?
The first round.
And how many is that?
7. He got 7.
Yeah, stop it.
Mendoza got 1.
Submission attempts. Stop it. Submission attempts. The closest this fight was coming to being finished.
and they did not give officially Mendoza a submission attempt in round 1.
What?
But he had one. He had
that triangle armbar going.
Yeah, he had that armbar attempt.
And then he had that at the end of the fight too.
Yeah. He got credited for a submission attempt in round 3, but he did not get credited for one in round 1. I thought that was the best offense of the round, so I gave that round to him based on that offense. But it was just a terrible fight. So who cares?
I thought it was a decent fight, a fine fight, competitive. There were some slow positional exchanges, but I thought it was an okay fight.
Yeah, just very, very blue belt. A lot of messy grappling.
The shit Mendoza was doing out there, like setting up those submissions, you're out of your mind.
Not a lot of positions lost, a lot of, I don't know. It was aggressive, but it was
that altitude, Zane.
It might be that altitude. Hey, you said it, not me.
I thought Mendoza won though. I gave him one.
I did. I scored the fight for Mendoza as well. I gave him the first and the third round, but I don't see any reason that Aguilar couldn't have won the first round, and everybody thought he won the second. So,
yeah.
I'm looking forward to never thinking about that fight again in my entire life. But I had a whole bunch of people very mad about a fight that they also will never be thinking about. Gamblers got it raw, this card, I feel like. At least that's what I was seeing from Twitter. I don't know. These people were mad about fights that nobody in their right mind should care about.
Well, they were probably happy about the PFL Bellator card. That was easy money all day.
Yeah, that was easy money. All right. That brings us to a catchweight bout. Edgar Chyz, Daniel Lacerda, both men missing weight for this one. And this, at the very least, was the absolute pinnacle of a totally unnecessary rematch.
It's like a formality.
Yeah. We needed to go see Daniel Lacerda go out and melt down again almost immediately in a fight for the 5th straight time in the UFC. Or is it 6th? Was that his 6th UFC fight?
I don't think it was 6. Either way, how about you getting his purple belt?
Yeah.
You just got your purple belt? What? That's insane, dude. You got a stingy coach or something.
Yeah.
Or you got in this too soon.
That was his 6th straight instant meltdown in the UFC.
Oh, wow. Damn.
He has had 6 straight losses. I'm going to include the no contest to Chyz last time out.
Oh, yeah.
With only 2 of them reaching the second round.
Lacerda should be concerned of. Sorry.
Yeah. But
yeah, he's on that Sam Alvey tip.
Yeah, well, Sam Alvey, hey, Sam Alvey won a few fights in the UFC. We forget that because his late career run was so bad, but he had a minute where he was like treading water.
Late career, he is the current karate combat heavyweight champion of the world. Smiling Sam Alvey, thank you very much.
They send you way too much free shit. All right. Yeah. Before that, Faris Ziam, Claudio Puelles. Happy to see the scoring go this way in this one.
I scored it for Puelles.
Did you?
I sure did. But I could clearly see the first round going the other way.
Yeah. It was just one of those, like, you're barely edging damage for really bad rounds in a really close fight.
Yeah. But it was like Zion would land one big strike.
Yeah.
And it's like, and like the positional grappling was just that. So it's like, not fun.
No, not a good fight. Before that, though, Ronaldo Rodriguez, Denis Bondar, and fine flyweight fight. Bondar, unfortunately, I mean, it's gotta hurt to be like tiny enough to be a natural flyweight, but not have the athleticism to be a natural flyweight. Because Bondar he looks way more technical than Rodriguez. He's looked like a more technical, complete fighter than every fighter that he's faced in the UFC. And then they just go out there and start horsing him around and beating him up, and he can't take it. And
yeah, talk about a meltdown. He looked great in the first round, and then
Rodriguez started landing big shots, and he couldn't take it. And maybe the cardio, maybe the altitude. Anyway,
could be that stupid ass altitude.
That's right. That's right. All right.
Yeah, but there was a point where Bondar got on top in a scramble, and then he bailed on it and dropped back for a heel hook.
Yeah, that was
position,
and it was
like, nah, and that was the end of it. He got choked quickly after that. So,
and that was after I think that was after Rodriguez went for like a lateral drop and like threw himself on his back and threw Bondar on top of him. Yeah. And then Bondar dropped back for the leg lock, and it's like, okay, look. Or maybe he went for a guillotine now. I can't remember. It was something stupid.
It was the back take body triangle situation.
It was just like Rodriguez made a terrible mistake, and Bondar just 100% let him off the hook for it.
Yeah. How about that spinning elbow that Rodriguez ate? That was insane.
Yeah. Dude. Rodriguez, I mean, you can say what you want for Bondar not being maybe a powerful athlete in the flyweight division, but Rodriguez can take it. This is a dude who his only losses have been decisions, and he looks like he's got a hell of it. He looks super durable and like a really, hard fighter, punishing fighter to try to take out. So
yeah, he reminds me of Figueiredo.
Mm-hmm.
Just that real calm, pressuring power style.
Yeah. Not high output, but dude can hit hard and can take a licking. All right. That brings us to another flyweight bout. Felipe dos Santos, Victor Altamirano, and...
Robbery?
No, I love this decision.
What?
The Ultimate Snuggling Championship? No, it's the Ultimate Fighting Championship. Altamirano came out there with all the inconsequential takedowns.
Oh, come on.
Got absolutely nothing done with any of them, and got hit harder in at least 2 out of 3 rounds.
Nah, come on now. One judge even had it 30-27.
Yeah. Look, none of these rounds were good. This was, once again, not a good fight. Not a good fight. I'm not going to sit here and imagine trying to care about this fight 5 minutes after we're done talking about it.
I like the fight.
Well, maybe that's why you scored it wrong then. But
what are you talking about?
One judge
gave it 30-27 for Altamirano.
Yeah, every round was close. That's reasonable. It's a rewarding control over damage, and you shouldn't do it. So
I didn't think there was that much damage going on.
There was enough more damage that just holding somebody and taking them down and not even being able to hold them down. He had to take him down like 8 times for a collection, like 4 minutes of control. That, like, you really literally just have to be wanting to score takedowns as offense.
Well, I think they scored it wrong. Well, one judge kind of got it right almost. I don't agree with the 30-27 for him, but
no. Terrible fight. Anyway, that brings us finally then to Muhammad Naimov, Eric Silva, which was not a fight at all because I did see one dude. This is crazy enough that I have to say it because it's the only thing to talk about in this fight. Eric Silva walked backwards, stepped in the crack at the edge of the ring, hurt his leg, fight over. Some guy came out to me and was like trying to argue that it should be ruled a no contest.
Yeah, go tell that to Jake Ellenberger.
It's just like, I'm sorry, but the octagon has been built this way with this with this same issue for 30 years. Like this was not a faulty construction problem. This is the playing surface that you have to work in. If a fighter runs themselves into a post and knocks themselves out, you don't be like, oh well, that's the octagon is too dangerous. That's no, you don't. There's a little trough there. It sucks. You don't want to step on it. The guy blocked himself backwards into it. That's his own fault.
Dude, Jake Ellenberger got his foot stuck in that gap.
Yeah,
and
they have in fact improved it.
No one.
They have improved it. They have made the gap smaller and tighter over time, so that this doesn't happen. But
yeah, it's definitely weird, a weird situation. And yeah, I do feel like I was robbed of a fight here.
Sure, we didn't have a fight.
And like the broadcast said that he tore his MCL. Silva did.
Yeah, that sucks. Yeah, I was gonna say you could play it back, but realistically, Naov beat Nathaniel Wood and then took this fight. Like, just move him on.
I'm sure in an alternate universe, Silva could sue the UFC for unsafe working conditions.
They absolutely have written into their contracts that you cannot sue the UFC for any injury suffered in the octagon.
Or for any reason ever.
Or for any reason ever. Yeah, I am sure of that. All right. On that note, I don't really have... Do we have anything from the Royval Moreno fight to revisit here?
Just the volume. I mean, good to see a flyweight putting flyweight volume up at Mexico City.
Yeah. Credit to Royval. He did what he needed to do to win. I will die on a hill all alone saying that the judges should have valued Moreno's power more, but Royval came with his plan and he fought a flyweight fight. He fought the meta and he got the win. So whatever. On that note, though, we're going to ride on out of here. We'll be dropping a little bit of extra bonus content for our Substack subscribers. So become one of them. Help us out. Keep us going. And otherwise, we will be back in a week's time for a heavyweight main event at the Apex. Yeah. I don't know. We might skip that one. We'll see. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. See you next time.
Oh, we didn't even mention Rosa's got